And when you say like it fell into your lap, it's funny because it still feels that way. Like I think about all of the work that I've had to put into it. I'm going to like see how much value I can provide in that medium, and it really
Yep.
took off. Like I was one of the I was one of the first. I think I was like the first fitness creator on TikTok to hit like 100,000 followers, and it was perfect timing.
Welcome to episode number 4 of the TMAC Impact Show. Today's conversation is with a guy by the name of Brandon Clark. He's 22 years old and a bodybuilder and fitness influencer. He's got over 60,000 YouTube subscribers and hundreds of thousands of followers across the other social media platforms. It's been really cool as I've known Brandon for a few years to see how he's been stumbling into kind of growing this personal brand and how he's now quit his job and is pursuing fitness as a career. I have nothing but high hopes for Brandon and know that he's going to be very successful and excited to see what he creates in the coming years here in Bozeman and online with the fitness movement that he's kind of starting. I hope you enjoyed today's conversation as much as I did having it. What have you done so far today, or what does your typical Tuesday look like?
Pretty much what I'm doing right now. I'm trying to become a lot more organized because what I find is that when your job is posting on social media, there's so many different things that you can do. Like the possibilities are limitless. It's like I could be making content for Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube. There's so many different things. And what happens as soon as you log on to one of those platforms, you are immediately just shown extremely interesting things, whether it's like DMs, you're shown videos, you want to sit there and you want to scroll through, you want to watch other things, and it's actually really hard to stay on track. So what I've started doing recently is doing my best to do like time blocking, where in the
Mm-hmm.
morning I pretty much wake up at like 6:30 is what I try to shoot for. Sometimes I'll end up sleeping in a little bit more because I always try to get my 8 hours in for bodybuilding and recovery purposes. So I always get my 8 hours of sleep. Usually wake up somewhere around 6:30, and then I try to eat my breakfast and get ready to work. And then at 7 o'clock, I start doing like client maintenance. So what I do is I just go through the list of all of my online clients. Right now, I currently have 8 people that I work really closely with, whether it's for bodybuilding or fat loss. And I pretty much go through and I try to add value to their day. So whatever I can do to help them, whether it's like looking at the exercises they're performing, changing around their meal plans, changing around their workout plans, or even just like talking to them, like texting them, making sure I'm like building up relationships with my clients. That's how I spend my first kind of hour of the day. And I try not to go on like social media too much during that time. I try to pour into my clients as much as possible for that first hour in the morning and make any changes that I need um, to keep them happy and to keep them progressing. And then after that, I like go into Facebook content creation. So I'll try to create whether it's like a short video or like a post for my Facebook fat loss group, which is called Fat Loss and Fitness for Men. And it's just a Facebook group. I think we have like 150 members in there right now. It's not crazy, but it's really cool because I'm a young kid, and so I really like using Instagram and TikTok. It comes super naturally, but Facebook does not. And so I'm really
Yeah.
trying to spend a lot of time getting onto Facebook, posting on there a lot more, because that is really where my ideal client is because it's like older people who have the money to pay for coaching, and they have the time and the resources to do that. So like that age group that Facebook users tend to be, that's exactly where I'm targeting with my coaching. So I need to be on that platform a lot more. So I'll take a full hour to make like Facebook posts, make content for my Facebook group, and then I'll go into like respond to any messages that I have, DMing different people in the group, trying to get their takes on stuff, and then I'll go into like an hour of like TikTok and Instagram, where my goal is to like make a post pretty much for both of those social media platforms. And then usually after that, I'll work on like YouTube, or I will do some sort of coaching program, because right now I'm involved with quite a few different coaching programs. Like one of them is World Class Coach by John Jewett University. And so I'm going through that right now, and that's been super, super helpful, just trying to hone in my skills when it comes to like being able to get people where they want to go with their physical goals. So whether it's cut body fat, build muscle, step on stage, all those types of things, I want to know everything that I possibly can and be the best at that. And then like I'll usually eat lunch, and I kind of my afternoons I pretty much do personal training till like 8 o'clock at night. So in person
Right.
at my gym. So I try to get most of my social media and content stuff done in the morning.
Done right away in the morning. Okay. Now, for your coaching business, is that it sounds like you have this Facebook group. How much of your coaching is like local here in Bozeman, Southwest Montana? And are you currently doing things for people remotely as well, or is it a both and?
Yeah, so right now I'm kind of in this awkward stage where I am mixing the two. So I have a couple of coaching like clients that I coach that I also personal train. So they are local, Montana locals. So there's a couple of like MSU students, a couple of high schoolers that I coach, and so I would say right now the majority of my coaching takes place online. So most of my clients are virtual. They live somewhere else, whether it's like some of them are in the UK, some of them are in New Zealand. It's pretty
Really?
crazy trying to set up calls with people where there's like a 12-hour difference. But so yeah, most of my online coaching is with people that don't live here, and then all my in-person clients are me trying to do, specifically Bozeman work.
Okay. So you do both. So if somebody wants to personal train with you or be coached by you, you have programs and things like that that you've created for them to achieve their fitness goals, whether that's putting on muscle or fat loss, whatever it might be.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. Very cool. And it's funny listening to you, like, as an influencer, somebody whose business really is through social media. Because I know if I wake up and the first thing I do is go and sit on the couch and start scrolling on Instagram,
Hmm.
I'm just gonna get lost. And so it's cool to hear your perspective of how you're doing it strategically and not letting it consume you.
Yeah, it's
And
really,
so
really dangerous, especially with TikTok and Instagram Reels, where I like sometimes I just open it up and it's immediately like if I'm planning on like going to edit a video like on my profile on TikTok, but I click the TikTok app, it immediately pulls up my For You page and like blasts me with like content. And then I find myself like swiping through 10 of them like before I'm like, I didn't even come on here to watch TikToks. Like I came on here to like edit a video. And it's like
yeah,
like I have to like reorient, and it's just like it's really annoying. I wish there was some way that on the social media platforms you could like turn your feeds off so that when I log on there, like I could just go to my profile and like work on the things that I need to work on, cuz it is crazy how quickly it can just suck you like right out
hmm
of what you're doing. And it's like, here,
yeah.
look at this video of a puppy saving a turtle.
Yeah, definitely. I love your idea, and it would be so awesome if you could turn off your feed so you could go in there and be productive. But I don't think that there's as much money for them in that, so I
Definitely
don't
not.
think that's going to happen. You just have to stay disciplined. So your niche, what you do is you do fitness. Like how did you even get into fitness? Like you didn't come out of the womb looking like you do. So how did you start your fitness journey?
That's a great question. So I got really, really bored in high school. That's pretty much what I tell everybody is that I honestly I played basketball in high school, but I was kind of forced to do it because I went to a really small school where there weren't a lot of athletes, and so our basketball team was like very, very small. And so, in order to please my friends and make it so that we could actually have like a team with 5 people, like you don't want to play on a basketball team with 4 people. So we would do,
Yeah.
and so they basically forced me to play basketball in high school, which I had a good time doing, but I definitely didn't really want to be doing that. I'm not really great. I don't really enjoy team sports a whole lot, and I think it definitely shows itself in how much I love bodybuilding, because bodybuilding is definitely a lot more it's a lot more individual. And
Yep.
so when I was in high school, I didn't do the sports a whole lot, and so pretty much what I ended up doing was I watched a lot of YouTube, and that's where I discovered like Arnold Schwarzenegger and just different like lifting accounts. And I started just
Hmm.
watching those YouTube videos, and I pretty much just discovered that I was fascinated with working out. Like ever since I was 14, I wanted to pick up a dumbbell. Like I really just wanted to like play around with dumbbells. I don't know why. I just thought that it was like the
Yeah.
coolest thing ever. And so I wasn't able to go like into the weight section of the gym for quite a while, but when I was like 14, I started doing karate, and so we do like tons of push-ups, tons of pull-ups, um, and all that type of stuff. So I basically started with calisthenics, and then as soon as I was able to get into the gym, like I was in there a couple days a week after school, just like basically trying to get a pump. Had no idea what I was doing. I always tell people that one of the first exercises I can remember doing in the gym was I would grab like 10-pound weights, and I would do like 200 curls like this, and I would do them super fast.
200.
And I would do 200 of them until my biceps just like burned super bad. Like little did I know that that probably wasn't building any muscle at all. It was probably like strictly hypertrophy. It was like more cardio than anything. But
Yeah.
I remember going in and just like wanting to lift weights. And so
Yeah.
it really turned into like a getaway for me in during high school. Like I would sit in
Yep.
class all day, and I would just find myself like daydreaming about getting to work out after school. Um,
Yep.
and yeah, that it just I found that that was my passion, and we've definitely come a long way since then. I pretty much made like every single error in the book when it comes to training, form, eating, all those types of mistakes. Like I've made them along the way over the past 5 years. But that was originally like where my passion sparked, was in sitting in my boring desk at high school, thinking like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to go lift things up and put them back down. It's gonna be so much fun.
That's hilarious. So you had no coaching. You just went in, you saw the dumbbells, you're like, all right, let's rock them out.
Yep, yeah, that
That,
was it. I
that's
that
hilarious.
was I the limit, or the most experience that I had was just like watching Arnold Schwarzenegger do different exercises on YouTube.
Yep.
And then like Athlean X, I think, was popular back then too,
Yep.
and like other YouTube channels were like just getting started out, like posting fitness content,
Yeah.
and I would watch those, and I would just be like, oh my gosh, like I need to try this
Yeah.
tomorrow, and then I would do it wrong inevitably.
Definitely. And so that was, you said 8 years ago. So was that in like 2014
Yes,
that you
yep,
were?
yeah. 2014 is when
Okay.
that's when I mainly started with calisthenics, because I wouldn't get into the gym a whole lot. But then when I was like 15 and 16, that's when I started going in pretty regularly. So 2015, 2016.
Okay. Sounds good. And did you like, you didn't necessarily have a goal when you started, right? It sounds like it was more of just like a getaway for Brandon and going and
Kind
escaping and
kind of.
enjoying
I'll
yourself.
tell you what my first goal was. My first
Okay.
goal was to get like insane forearm vascularity. Like I don't know why. So when I started working out, like my main goal wasn't to get like huge. Like my main goal wasn't to like build muscle and get super jacked. The first thing that I ever wanted, I wanted like really crazy like spider web forearm veins.
Yep.
And cuz I thought it was like the coolest thing ever, and I was kind of always like a pudgy kid. And so
Yeah.
I looked at my older brother, and my older brother was like a lot leaner than I was, so he had these big like arm veins, and I'm like, that's the
Yeah.
coolest thing ever. I want that. So I would go in and
Yep.
I would just do like forearm curls, and I would do like this with dumbbells in my hand, and then I would do like
Yeah.
hanging from the pull-up bar for like as long as I could. And I would hold the dumbbells for as long as I could. I would just get the most insane forearm pump. It didn't really do that much because your forearms don't really grow a whole lot when the rest of your body isn't growing. That's
Yep.
what I found. But I mean, that was how I first started.
That's so funny. So, I mean, my fitness journey really started in like 2017. So I was 20 years old, I think,
Mhm.
and or 20 or 21. And anyways, but I lifted weights because I wrestled in high school. And after wrestling season got over, I got a membership to the gym that was attached to our high school. And I would go into there. I did the exact same thing. I would I would stand and do curls with a dumbbell
Mhm.
backwards behind my back.
Yep.
I would hang a towel around a pull-up bar and just hang from it as long as I possibly could and do
Yep.
all those types of things because you're that I wanted the same exact thing. I wanted the spider, the spider web forearms. I thought that looked really cool.
That's so funny.
And meanwhile, it's like, dude, you're scrawny. Who, you'll probably just look malnourished if you have
Yeah.
arms like that.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it was a very, very interesting first motivator.
Yeah. And so you started that when you were 14, and then now, how old are you now?
Right now I turned 22 in October. So I'm
Okay.
22.
Okay. And it sounds like obviously this is a job for you, like you're doing it full time. At what point, I guess, did it click for you that, hey, I can maybe do this professionally, whether that's through your personal brand or through coaching clients and things like that? Like you were lifting for fun. When did you realize that not only can this be a hobby, but you can make a living and help people through it?
Yeah, so when I was back in high school, so it was towards like junior or senior year, I think. So I was pretty into lifting at the time. Like I had a couple years under my belt by that time, and what I really wanted was I wanted to be kind of like Steve Cook because he had recently come on the scene and he
Yep.
was making like YouTube videos about fitness and all that type of stuff. And I was like, okay, like that is super super cool. But I'm kind of a pessimist, like when it comes to dreams, like when it comes to and seeing my own potential. I really don't like. I think that would be really really cool, but I never think that it would actually be able to happen. But what I tend to do is I tend to sort of work towards those things, even though I think that they're never going to happen. And so that's what I found myself doing in high school. I was like, okay, if Steve Cook is doing all of these different things and like this is the lifestyle that he's living, I'm just like, I am going to do something similar. Like, so I am going to start making YouTube videos. I'm going to start posting on Instagram. I'm going to start like trying to entertain people, like making funny videos, whatever it is I want to do. Like, I'm just going to try to have a good time, and I'm going to try to turn social media from like this place where I go to do like a ton of content consumption where I'm just like watching videos all
Mhm.
day long, and I'm like, I'm gonna start trying to like contribute and like trying to make videos for other people to watch. So that was when it kind of first
Mhm.
started. Um, and then it sort of started to snowball from there, and I started getting like a lot more YouTube subscribers. Like I had a couple like videos that were hitting like the thousands of views, and I was like, wow, like this is super super cool. I started getting more followers on Instagram. I started connecting with like higher level people who had a lot more followers than me on Instagram. And then I ended up in 2019, I ended up going to the Olympia and just saying like, you know what, I'm just gonna have a good time and try to film the whole thing. And that's exactly what I did. So I went to the bodybuilding Olympia and I made a vlog out of it, and it did really well back at the time for making like YouTube videos, and I had a great time like getting pictures with like a bunch of people that I really idolized back then. And it was kind of at that point where I realized like, okay, like this could go somewhere. Like people are
Mhm.
starting to like pay attention. Like clearly I'm like entertaining people enough to where they're, you know, sort of sticking around. And maybe
Yeah.
hopefully in the future I'll be able to like make some money off of it. And at that time, like money
Yep.
was nowhere in sight. Um, but I still just kept posting, like because at that point, like it was just sheerly for enjoyment. Like I made
Yep.
content because I enjoyed it, and I would make content. I would make YouTube videos in my spare time. Like it didn't seem like work to me. It just seemed like fun. And so
Yeah.
that was probably the biggest factor that played into like where I am today is just the fact that I do enjoy making content and I enjoy entertaining people. Because if I didn't enjoy it, I would never have spent my free time doing it. And with like, I've always been a super super hard worker. Whenever it like every single job that I've had, I'm always working my butt off, like 40 hours a week, 9 to 5, and then on the weekends I would film my YouTube videos, my content. Like at night I would do all of this type of stuff, all the while trying to get in my sleep, get in my workouts, all that type of thing. So it just led to a really busy lifestyle. But I kept doing it because I enjoyed it, and ultimately that started to bring in a lot more attention, especially when I hit the TikTok scene, because I was actually one of
Yeah.
the first people to ever start posting fitness content on TikTok. And that was
Okay.
right around the time when COVID was happening. So everybody was like
Really?
locked down. They said, hey, everybody go into lockdown for 2 weeks. And I went out that day when they told that everybody was going into lockdown, and I went
Okay.
to Play It Again Sports, which is like this store where you can buy used workout equipment and used sports equipment. And I went there and I spent $1,000 on just like weightlifting equipment, like your basics. I had like a bench, this super ghetto squat rack that I don't know how I was squatting like 300 plus pounds on this thing, but you'd move it and it was so shifty. Like I can't believe I ever did it.
Really?
But I just like brought all of that equipment home. I put it in my garage, and then the gyms
Yeah.
closed down the next day. And so I was like, oh, thank God. Like, thank God
Yeah.
I was able to get in before that happened. And so I was still working my 40 hours a week because my job was in transportation at the time. I was working at a train manufacturing company. And so
Okay.
everything had shut down except for like the what do you call them, the integral businesses, and that just happened to be
Yeah.
my work. And so everybody was super bored, everybody was sitting at home, and so I was like I kept telling my mom, I'm like, Mom, this is crazy. Like, it's crazy that the entire United States right now is shut down. Like, nobody is
Yeah.
doing anything. They say it's just going to be for 2 weeks. That makes no sense. Like, there's no way that it's just going to be for 2 weeks. Like, it's definitely going to be longer than this. And I'm like, Mom,
Yeah.
how can I capitalize on this situation? I'm like, how can I do
Yep.
this the most? And like, my sisters had downloaded TikTok, and
Mm-hmm.
and then I was like, you know what? I should download TikTok and just see like what's going on there. And I wanted to check out like the fitness scene, see if there was like a fitness scene on
Yeah.
TikTok. And to my surprise, I downloaded TikTok and I went through it and I was like, there's like barely anybody posting fitness content on here. So I'm like, okay, I'm like, here's what I'm doing. I am going to
Yep.
start trying to post like funny videos or entertaining fitness videos on TikTok while everybody else is bored at home and like needs some entertainment. I'm gonna try to get them to like work out even though they're stuck at home and they don't like whatever. They're not going to work. They're probably sitting on their couch eating Twinkies. I'm going to like see how much value I can provide in that medium, and it really
Yep.
took off. Like I was one of the I was one of the first. I think I was like the first fitness creator on TikTok to hit like 100,000 followers, and it just yeah, it was perfect timing, and I sort of started to develop a keen sense for like how to follow trends and like what kind of post to make so that you'd get more views and all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
I just kind of followed it up the line.
That's so awesome. And so how long, you said you're one of the first, the first or one of the first to get 100,000 followers. And that was 2 years ago. Where is TikTok now? I mean, it's blown up
Yeah, no,
since
TikTok is
2020.
huge since then. It's really sad because I ended up getting my TikTok up to like I would say that most of my opportunities have come from TikTok. Like ultimately, I was
Okay.
offered my Rise sponsorship, which is the supplement company that I'm sponsored by. I was
Yep.
offered my Raw Gear sponsorship, which was a clothing company that I decided to work with. But
Hmm.
now I work with Young LA. I work with Whole Strength, which is a Christian apparel brand, and I get to promote all of these companies and work with them. And all of that like pretty much all of that stemmed from my TikTok. Like it didn't stem from my YouTube. It didn't stem from my Instagram. It was because I ended
Yep.
up working my way up to having like 350,000 followers on TikTok. Sadly, that account was banned for
Oh,
reasons that I don't really want to get into. It's TikTok is very strange, and they will just take down your account sometimes without any warning or anything like that. And that's ended up kind of
yeah.
what happened to me. But it was a super cool experience, and it led to like pretty much all of my sponsorships, all of the success or most of the success that I've had so far has come from that app.
Okay. In building your personal brand to then lead to business opportunities, whether that's through the different companies you're sponsored with and an ambassador for and or coaching, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay. And when you were, I guess, when you were in TikTok, were you doing anything to encourage people to check out you on the other platforms? Because TikTok is what, like 10 seconds
Yep.
or however long it was. I don't have TikTok at the moment. Um, so you had a TikTok. Were you encouraging people to go watch your YouTube videos over there and or like go on check out your Instagram or Facebook, or what does that look like for you of intermingling the communities that you're building on these different platforms?
Yeah, so that became the challenge. The next challenge, because if you've been on TikTok, if you're on TikTok a lot right now, you'll realize that followers don't really mean as much as they do as subscribers on YouTube or followers on Instagram. Like people who are followers on Instagram and subscribers on YouTube, they consume your content a lot more religiously and in a lot greater quantity than the people get on TikTok. So you'll see people with tons and tons of followers who like don't even get any views. It's because like one of their videos went viral, they got a lot of followers, they got a lot of clicks, but now they don't get any attention. It was just like from that one video. And so I
Yeah.
realized that because that's sort of the virality pattern of TikTok, and so I realized that I had to start pulling people off of that platform. So I pretty much used TikTok as the net to catch as many people as I possibly could and bring them over to YouTube and Instagram, kind of like you were saying. And pretty much how I would do that is I would just like whatever I would make TikTok posts and I'd say like go watch my YouTube for more or go follow my Instagram for more. Go DM me a question on Instagram. That was one of my biggest ones.
Yeah.
Like there were times when I was getting like 100+ DMs on my Instagram every single day of just like kids asking like workout questions, and it definitely got super overwhelming at periods.
Yeah.
But I was actually so I had grinded on my YouTube channel for like a year and a half to 2 years before I started TikTok. And I think that around that time, I probably had somewhere between like 300 to 500 subscribers. Like it was
Yep.
not that many. Every single subscriber, I would watch my subscriber count. Every single time it went up like one, I knew. I was like, yo, like it went
Yeah.
up one. Like that was probably my buddy that I told to make sure he subscribed. Like
Yep.
it was that like small at the time. And then I was able to pull a lot of those people off to YouTube to where like I mean I didn't pull them all off of TikTok, but I got like 1,000+, 2,000, 3,000 subscribers on there. And that was awesome. And at this point, which is kind of the one of the kind of the things that I kind of shot myself in the foot was um, I wasn't really looking to monetize it at the time because it just seemed like fun. Like I'm pretty much just
Yep.
doing this for fun at this point in time. If it turns into something, it'll turn into something in the future. But I wasn't really looking for ways to actually provide a whole lot of value to keep these people like coming back to me. So it was pretty entertainment based. And so I wish like back then I had a little bit more of the business mindset and like
Yep.
sort of tried to get them into like some sort of community where I could have like had some sort of product that benefited them. But obviously when I
Yeah.
was back then I was just pretty much thinking about fun and trying to entertain people.
Yep. Well, that's the that's one of the cool parts though in thinking about it, because I mean, we both know, I'm sure, all kinds of people who are trying to get into social media. I want to become an influencer or whatever, and it's selfish from the get-go. It's like, okay,
Mhm.
this is all about me. I want a lot of followers to fill my insecurities or
Hmm.
whatever that is, or make all this money. And you just started from fun.
Yeah.
And then you started to realize, and I mean, still, even now you're a kid, and this is a few years ago, right? So you're a
Yeah.
kid making fun videos, and now you're starting to learn, like, oh, I can make this into a business. And
Hmm.
oh, while you do that, you can also help people and yeah, and make some money along the way, which is so cool. Yeah, to hear how it kind of fell into your lap
Hmm.
out of something that you're doing for
Yeah,
enjoyment.
I mean it's awesome. It's awesome to look back at, but it's just it's so funny because and when you say like it fell into your lap, it's funny because it still feels that way. Like I think about
Yeah.
all of the work that I've had to put into it. Like people ask me like how do you get successful on like social media? How do you get the followers? How do you get the views? Like all the blah 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 blah. And then I'm just like, well, just enjoy doing it.
Yeah.
That's the best thing. That's like the best advice that you can possibly have because I look back on everything and I don't think, oh, I remember all like the hours that I slaved away like making the YouTube videos, making the Instagram posts, like staying consistent with it. It wasn't work for me. Like I look back on it and it's been nothing but fun. So it's like it's really funny when people ask me that. But then when I try to tell them something, I'm like, yeah, like you do have to work on it. You actually have to be consistent with it. And I have to go back
Yeah.
through and sort of think about like what did I actually do like to get there. It's like, oh yeah, that's right. I was spending my entire Saturday editing a YouTube video.
Yeah.
But it didn't feel like work to me, so it's kind of hard to sometimes relay that information to other people because they see that as like, holy crap, that's a ton of work. When for me, it was a piece of cake. It was life.
That's awesome, man. Okay, and so now, and that was years ago. Like, where are you at with your, I guess, your subscribers now on YouTube?
Right now, I haven't checked super recently, but I'm pretty sure I'm somewhere around like 50,000 subscribers on YouTube. Let's
Cool.
see here. Well, the cool thing about YouTube is your YouTube videos are always there and people are always going back through the old ones. So like even when
Yep.
my YouTube videos like currently like don't get a ton of attention, I know that they'll be getting watched 2, 3, 4 years from now when I have a bigger audience, like they'll be going back through those videos and watching them. So trying to stay consistent with that as much as possible. On Instagram, like I have somewhere around like 70,000 followers, I think. In TikTok, we've had to
Yep.
restart from the ground up. So I'm somewhere around like
Yeah.
10,000 right now, I think. But I mean, it's making a lot of progress, so that's nice.
Oh yeah, no, that's fantastic. Well, there's a book, I can't remember, it might be called Raving Fans or something like that, and it talks about just like if you have 1,000 people that love you, who you are, what you do, and you can figure out a way to give them value in exchange for money, like you can build a great life just
Yeah,
off of that. And
a
so,
thousand
yeah, I
fans
mean,
is extremely valuable.
yeah. And I think I've not read the book. I've heard the concept thrown around yeah, a few times. And so what are you we live here in Bozeman, which is how I knew you. How much are you focusing, I guess, on like national content creation and personal brand versus like local, trying to help the people in local, or are you even strategizing any of that, or are you just like genuinely trying to help people wherever they're at with any type of fitness stuff?
Honestly, yeah, it's been pretty tough to sort of balance that because ultimately my goal is to have a business here in Bozeman that is sort of it's like local and it has a lot of local people that it works with. But then it's also sort of on a national scale online. So that's ultimately my goal. Whether it's like a gym or like a coaching business or an app or something like that, like that's what I'm sort of working towards. When it comes to my
Hmm.
personal brand in Bozeman, like what I really have been working toward is like the personal training side of things. So I try to get a lot of face time at the gym. I try to meet as many people as I possibly can. And yeah, there's definitely like overlap between like my social media and my like brand that I'm trying to build in Bozeman because just thinking about TikTok actually, I'm not sure if you knew this, it's one of the interesting things about TikTok is that
Yep.
it actually, if your phones are close together with other people, those people become a lot more likely to see your content that you post.
Really?
Yeah. So it's literally
Okay.
like location based. So even like if your phone is in the proximity to other people's phones, they become much more likely to see your content in their feed, which is very interesting. Well, it's like it's
Yeah.
interesting in a good way, and then also kind of a sketchy bad way. But it's crazy because the amount of people like here in Bozeman that find my socials like just because of I'm posting on this sort of nationwide trying to build the brand that way, and then they're like that's crazy, like this looks like it was filmed at the Ridge. And I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
that's where I filmed
It
it.
was.
So
Yeah.
there's definitely some overlap there, and ultimately my goal is to make the connections here locally, so that building like a local business that administers nationwide would be easy.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. You're building a brand right now. It sounds like that has some focus both on a national level of helping people through entertaining content and encouraging content to help with their fitness journey. It sounds like no matter what their goals are, but you're also doing some things locally here in Bozeman or trying to build a business to help people in fitness here. So, what would you say? Because you've been all over with different fitness influencers and different communities. What would you say it is that Bozeman is missing in the fitness community here that you're trying to fill?
Ooh, that's a great question. I would say, you know what? I would say the biggest thing that we are missing is like a super big, high quality, like muscle bodybuilding gym. And not, maybe not even that, like just a gym that has like strongman equipment and like certain exercise machines. Like, I just feel like a lot of the gyms in Bozeman are number one, like they're already super maxed out. But then they also just
Mhm.
don't have a ton of that mainstream equipment that's that's progressing a ton. Like exercise equipment has come so far in the past couple years, and I just feel like Bozeman is really
Okay.
behind when it comes to that type of stuff. So I would say that the main goal that I'm looking to fill is to have some sort of gym or like headquarters here for people to lift at. And then I think that one of the biggest things when it comes to Montana as well, Montana sort of in general, is that the workout programming for people that are looking to do like a lot of backcountry stuff is also kind of lacking. So when it comes to like whether people are trying to stay in shape for skiing, or hiking or hunting or all that type of stuff, I think that that's kind of lacking on the program side of things. So ultimately, I would kind of like to locally focus on trying to provide more value to people who are trying to maintain their fitness for those outdoor activities, because I mean it's so cold for so much of the year here, and yet outdoors is like the biggest thing. Like that's why people come here, that's why so many people live here, is for those outdoor activities. But they need some way to like stay in shape and practice performing better like when they're doing those activities. So I think providing some sort of facility that sort of encompasses all of that, it's ultimately
Mhm.
my goal, kind of a dream at the moment.
Okay. That's super cool. So you're not necessarily looking for the guys who just want to go compete on stage and be a jacked bodybuilder, or somebody who's might be overweight and wanting to lose some of that. But even if they like to go hunting in the fall and need to stay in shape to ruck out an elk, helping those
Exactly.
people or people who want to ski. Okay, that's super cool.
Hmm.
And is there, have you seen like in any other areas of the country that you've been, like communities? Because I feel that, like, let's just say bodybuilding and CrossFit, there
Hmm.
can kind of be, let's say, a stereotype, or they kind of make fun of each other in a way, probably, right?
Hmm.
And it's almost like it's against us. Well, at the end of the day, people are staying in shape with the body that God gave them, and that is fantastic. And so, have you seen elsewhere communities that are like, hey, you do that, that's awesome. This is what I do. How can we help each other and just make sure that the people around us and in our community are living healthy lifestyles?
That's a great question. Nothing comes to mind like right off of the top of my head. Like I know that there are a couple gyms where like facilities where they do like different types of lifting. Like they'll have a strongman section, like bodybuilding equipment, like functional training equipment, like for CrossFit, like rock climbing stuff, like all that type of stuff. Like I've seen facilities that have that, but nothing that sort of jumps out to me as being like super community based, as far as those
Mm-hmm.
things go, because it does, as soon as you get into those types of things, like it does get polarizing, you know, like people like
Yeah.
the hunters will sort of look at the bodybuilders and they're like, oh, like that's like you're just building muscles, like, but what, like how are you gonna pack out this elk? Like you're gonna die if you try to do it.
Yeah.
And then the bodybuilders like look at the CrossFitters and they're like, oh, like why are you doing these exercises? You're just gonna hurt yourself. Like you should do it like we're doing it. And then
Yeah.
like the CrossFitters will look at like I don't know somebody else. It's just there's a lot of judgment that goes on between those like fitness sects for sure. So bringing
Yeah.
them together would definitely be pretty difficult.
Yeah. I agree. I don't. It'd be really cool because I can appreciate it's like dance. Let's say I love two of the favorite things that I enjoy watching. Believe it or not, are dance and skateboarding
Hmm.
because like it's so smooth and calculated on all the different things that they're doing.
Hmm.
And so I think as we can come to appreciate what different fitness communities are doing to stay in shape to match their fitness goals, which is I think the biggest thing is like you probably have different goals than somebody who's doing CrossFit or somebody like Jussup who was just in. He's signed up for 100-mile race in February,
Wow.
and like we aren't going to do that, right?
Yeah.
But if
No.
we're going and trying to look good in the mirror and fill out a T-shirt, that's maybe a bit more our language. And
Hmm.
so, speaking of people in different goals, when this episode comes out, it's going to be like just before, just after the new year.
Hmm.
There's there's a stereotype of like, oh, the first 2 weeks or for January, there's going to be way more people in our gym because people set all these big audacious goals to get in shape or lose weight or build muscle, whatever it might be.
Hmm.
And we know sure enough that, okay, it's December now. We look back, a lot of those people aren't still there.
Hmm.
And so what would you say to encourage people who are looking to get into fitness or just into better shape, whatever it might be, to get with something and stick with it?
Yeah.
Because you coach people and deal with that a lot.
The biggest thing that I can say. So number one, like hiring a coach is a great. I don't want to shrill my services out to anybody, but it's like hiring a coach or somebody to keep you accountable can definitely be super helpful. But then number two, like I would say do this before you hire a coach, or when you hire a coach, try to work with them on maximizing this factor. Is that you want to find something that you enjoy, because like I've said, I feel like I've probably said it 3 times on this podcast already, if you don't enjoy it, you're not going to be doing it for very long. And that's why none of the New Year's, like very few, I shouldn't say none of, there's probably a couple that are still going strong once a week. But when it comes to the New Year's resolutionists, so many of them just don't enjoy it. Like they see it as something like, it's the new year. I'm finally going to do it. Like I'm going to make it happen. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to slave away on the treadmill. I'm going to like, it's going to be horrible. It's going to be terrible, but I'm going to like get to my goal body. And it's like,
Mhm.
no, you shouldn't go into it with that mentality. And honestly, that's kind of the backwards thing about New Year's resolutions, is that if you want it to be successful, you shouldn't be doing it like around New Year's. You should be doing it like whenever you think of that, whenever you like
Yeah.
need to make the change, because like having that sort of that mental reinforcement behind, yeah, I've just really got to push myself. I've got to make it super hard to try to get to where I want to go. That's not always the case. The biggest thing that you can do is try to enjoy it. Like try to go to the gym, make it like a social thing. Like go to the gym and talk with your friends, have a good time, like meet up with people, do something that you enjoy, swimming, biking, treadmill, CrossFit. As much as I hate to say it, Like if you enjoy it, if you enjoy like the group Zumba classes, whatever you can do to get in there, like create a community and have a good time, that is what is going to keep you coming back ultimately. Because as soon as it gets rough, if you're just like, if going to the gym for you looks like, I really don't want to go to the gym, but I need to go to the gym. And so you go to the gym and you don't talk to anybody and you hop on the treadmill or the Stairmaster. Like, where is your motivation coming from? Like, to do that? Like, there's literally
Yeah.
no motivation. And discipline is super, super important, but you're only going to be doing it for so long. You can only rely on motivation for so long before motivation and discipline so long before you've had enough and you just don't want to do it anymore. So loving it is exactly what you need to try to do.
Okay. Yeah. If you're listening, you heard it here, because if it becomes something you have to do, not what you get to do, I mean, you're not going to last very long.
Exactly.
And that's
You
coming from
get
a
to do it.
coach.
That's well said.
So,
Yes, that's good stuff. You get to do it. It is a privilege to push yourself. It is a privilege to develop that discipline.
mhm, absolutely.
I mean, just the other day, honestly, I saw a guy, like, I think there's two people at Access Fitness, which is where I personal train people, and they're
Hmm.
in wheelchairs. Like they are in
Really?
wheelchairs working out at the gym. It's like what is your excuse? Like they genuinely have a good time. I feel bad cuz I'm hitting leg day next to these people
Yeah.
who are in wheelchairs and I just stop and I think like, "Oh my gosh, like I hate this right now. Like hack squatting is super hard, but like how
Yeah.
crazy is that I'm in a position where I can squat to failure. Like I can push myself
Yeah.
that far. Like it's such a blessing.
Yeah. Well, and I love that you bring that up, because that reminds me of something. Like, I remember when I first started going to the gym, before I had put on any muscle at all, like it was like almost like people were intimidating, right? The people who've been there for a long
Yeah.
time, like looking around, you yeah, don't think positive things, or they're scary or whatever. And so if you can point out to people who are in a wheelchair, or somebody who's in there to lose weight or whatever it is, like, just encourage them, it's so awesome. Because the fact is that the way that you might feel, like, if you're new to the gym, there, everybody else feels that way too.
Mhm.
Like, even when you look like Brandon, if you were to go to a new gym in Nebraska or
Mhm.
somewhere random, right? Like, you would look around and maybe be a bit, I don't know, what is that like for you when people are are wanting to go to the gym or start coaching with you, whatever it might be, and they're casting all this judgment, or they don't want to go because of what other people might think? What do you say to those people?
Yeah, I really say that it takes some exercise, not only physically but also socially, because I always tell people that you should try to approach some like at least one person at the gym every single day and just like introduce
Mhm.
yourself to them and like get to know them, even if they turn out to be like extremely rude or like not a person that you really want to talk with. It's just
Yeah.
good to exercise that muscle of approaching people and like developing relationships. And you were actually the first person who encouraged me to do that, because I used to go to the gym all the time, hoodie up. I didn't want like anybody to talk to me. It was like I'm like building myself right now. Like this is what I'm doing. And if you
Yeah.
enjoy doing that, then like by all means do that, but you're not going to get any you're not going to bring about a whole lot of change when it comes to the social aspect of your life or the business aspect of your life. So if you are like nervous, I would say one of the best things that you can do is like try to make a friend. Like approach
Yeah.
the most non-threatening person in there and just like try to have a conversation. Ask them how to like use a specific kind of gym equipment or something like that. Because I think what you figure out really quickly is that people in the gym are very, very willing to help other people, but everybody kind of has their guard up because they're worried about how everybody is like looking at them. And I've been in the gym for years and I still have this. Like when I'm
Mhm.
when I'm like working out, like I'm in tune with the fact that there are like other people there. And usually a lot of the people are looking at me because I tend to grunt really loud, but it's like everybody's in tune with that, and so they kind of put up this wall of being like kind of antisocial. But as soon as you start talking to somebody, it's just like, oh, this person is not at all who I thought that they were. And most people are very, very eager to help other people, like whether it's like learn an exercise or like help them out with something basic. Like everybody who's going to the gym, like they're very, very focused on like building themselves up, but then that kind of bleeds over into helping others build themselves up too. So it's a very, very like welcoming environment when you get to know people. But at
Yeah.
first I definitely understand how it can be extremely intimidating.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I appreciate though. Well, I'm glad that I was able to encourage you to go out there and be social at the gym
Hmm.
because that was yeah, that was something that I saw was a lot of people they would be going to the gym and it was something they had to do, not get to do.
Hmm.
And then they go there and they're worried about what everybody else thinks. And
Hmm.
so a couple like easy things that you can do is there's this really awesome thing we can do where it's called smiling.
Hmm.
And when you do that, people become so much more approachable. And I even like eventually it just became fun for me to say hello to people at the gym, right? And if you're, you know, if you're the guy with the hoodie up that you can hardly see his eyes, or the chick that's in there, these are stereotypes that with the,
The
you know,
hat
the
on.
hat
Yep.
over her eyes, like
Hmm.
they're they're not approachable. Don't,
Yeah.
you know, like you can smile or do something, but whatever. But like if you see somebody and they crushed it, they, you know, we're doing a lot of weight for them or they're pushing themselves, just giving them nucks or a high five or something like that. And or I would even to guys like you, people who are super jacked, I would just look at them to say hello. And it was so what got them is it was weird and nobody does it, but I would
Hmm.
look at them, just keep a straight face and just kind of flex my muscles like that. And they would be like confused. And then I would just laugh. I'd be like, hey man, what's up? My name's Taylor. And like, and people, you can build relationships like that.
Yeah.
There's a guy that I met at the Ridge. There's a few people that I had done it to, and just like in super good shape, in there consistently for his age, and did the flex on him. We became friends, and almost like 2 years later, he bought a house with me, right?
Wow.
Because we became friends in the gym. He like knowed and trust me
Mm.
from, you know, being in there where I got to help him, you know, buy his house here.
Yeah.
And so there's so many opportunities you can create for yourself when you're open to going and having a conversation with people.
Totally.
Um,
Yeah,
and
that's the biggest advice I would give to pretty much everybody. And yeah, working that social muscle will bring you so much benefit, not just in working out, not just in business, but like every aspect of your life will improve tremendously if
Mhm.
you focus on trying to build that up.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, for the introverts who are watching or listening, they're like, "What? How can you do that?" I I grew up kind of introverted. I would have considered myself fairly introverted, and then I started to learn to become extroverted and the opportunities that it could create. Not that either one is right or wrong inherently,
Hmm.
but I was like, "Oh, when I put myself out there a little bit more, I can make other people laugh and smile or give them ideas and I feel better about it." And so once I saw like the opportunities that can come when you are forcing yourself to talk to people, like I became a better person because of it and so many doors opened up. Yeah, when you did that.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that's so cool. So as you're building all this stuff, what what resources, I guess, as outside of a local gym and coaching, are there any like websites that you would recommend for somebody going into the new year to go and check out? And whether that's your Instagram page or like a website of some sort, what are some good resources that are online for the people who aren't going to walk into the gym and talk to the jacked guy or the manager of the gym on how to get started? What are some good resources that you would point people to kind of get the ball rolling on their fitness journey?
That's actually a really good question. I mean, first of all, I would point people to my YouTube channel and my Instagram and my TikTok and all
It
that
is
kind of
great.
stuff
That's not just a plug.
where I post my exactly. There you go. Shameless plug. But I would say as far as that type of stuff goes, you can find some really good like basic training routines just on the internet. whether it's like a push pull, leg split, or like full body routines. You can find pretty basic like entry level stuff on there. I personally really enjoyed watching like Athlean X. I think that like his YouTube videos are pretty informative, at least for beginners. Like going and just sort of watching that type of stuff to sort of get yourself exposed to like the exercises that you'll be doing before you go into the gym. Um, but that's a good question. It's been a long time since I was like a beginner, so it's kind of hard to
Yeah.
think of stuff like right off the top of my head.
Yeah. And I'm not near as professional as you are, but I do love fitness. It's changed my life. And yeah, like some of the resources, I love that you said Athlean X because I forget his name, but he's like a doctor, chiropractor, like physical therapist, right?
Yeah, Jeff Cavalier.
And
I think
there
that's
you
his
go.
name.
Yep. And a bodybuilder and or like super jacked. So yeah,
Hmm.
Jeff, the Athlean X is great for tracking and dieting. That's a good question. Is MyFitnessPal using that?
Yes.
So as far as diet, because people are like, oh, I want to get in the gym and I just want to lose weight, or I just want to see abs, or whatever it is. What are a couple highlights that people might not think about in their fitness journey, no matter what their goal is, when
Mm.
it comes to the nutrition side of things? Because if Brandon worked out as hard as he did, but you were eating way too much McDonald's or you weren't eating enough, you probably wouldn't look the way that you do.
Yeah.
And so, hit on nutrition for a minute for me on just some good things to think about as you're moving forward in your fitness journey.
Yeah, when it comes to nutrition, there are some really basic things that I like to make sure with people. Like number one is just eating like a good amount of protein. It keeps you satiated. It does a really good job at like regulating your appetite. So if you're
Is
trying to
that
build
what
muscle,
satiated?
what was that?
Sorry to cut you off, but I want to know. Not everybody might know what satiated
Oh,
mean.
so
What's that?
satiation has to do with how full you feel when you eat food. So if you eat like a lot of carbs, you can eat a lot of calories worth of carbs and still not feel super full, if that makes sense. But when you eat protein, it makes you feel like super full. It takes up a lot of space in your stomach, and your body also burns calories to digest it. It's called the thermic effect of food. And so the basic things that I always tell people is try to get more protein in. So prioritize your protein consumption because naturally, if you're eating high protein, you'll tend to eat like less calories, or you'll automatically build more muscle because protein synthesis is the main driver of hypertrophy. So that's sort of the main aspect, but I really encourage people to start tracking their calories, and a lot of people think that it's restrictive, like using an app like MyFitnessPal. But I honestly, I have seen, I think that ultimate like nutritional freedom comes from knowing what is in the foods that you are eating. Like what are the calories, what are the macros, like what is the quality of the food, and ultimately like what the goal is with tracking your calories is being able to track it for long enough to where you can kind of go about your day automatically and sort of identify different foods, and how your body responds to them, what macronutrients are in them, like what protein, fats, and carbs amounts are in that food that you're eating. Because ultimately, the goal is to get to a point where you can just look at that food and identify it. Um, and so I really encourage people to download stuff like MyFitnessPal and try to start getting an idea of what their macro breakdown is, of how many calories they're eating throughout the day, so that you can use that to steer your ship. Because like ultimately, like you're building muscle in the gym or you're doing cardio to lose fat, whatever you're doing in the gym, that's the ship. And if you don't, if the rudder isn't pointing you in the right direction, which is your nutrition, you're never going to get where you want to go. Like your nutrition ultimately is like what guides you along your path. So making sure that that is dialed in and that all that hard work is going where you want it to go is very important.
Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense because, yeah, exercise is extremely important, but to an extent, you literally are what you eat. And so if you're not eating good and healthy, nourishing food, you're probably going to feel like trash too.
Yep.
And
Hmm.
so with the one other limiting belief that I want to get your response to is, Brandon, I want to lose a little bit of weight and, maybe put on muscle, but I don't want to look big and blocky. Like, I don't want to look like you. That's not my goal. So I don't want to add muscle. Uh, how do you respond to that?
I always tell people, you wish you could look like me. I'm just kidding.
No.
So the honest truth with that it is like the average person that lifts like a couple times a week and like lifts heavy, and works
Mhm.
out quite a bit doesn't have like a ton of muscle. They don't look super jacked. They don't look overly muscular. They don't look blocky. Like a lot of the bodybuilders that people compare themselves to on the internet are most of the time using like performance enhancing drugs to give them that look, along with like a ridiculous diet, along with a ridiculous training routine. Like all those types of things need to be dialed in order to achieve that physique. Muscle has ultimately, I'm pretty sure that the more muscle that you have in like on the natural spectrum of how much muscle you can build naturally without performance enhancing drugs, the more of it that you have, the less you are at risk for all cause mortality, I believe. So just simply by like focusing on trying to build muscle, it can help you out so much when it comes to your bone density, like I said, your overall your all cause mortality, lowering that risk. But it can also help you with stuff like osteoporosis. So in general, like even if you don't want to get in the gym to build like massive muscles and look good, it's really, really good for your health. Like in resistance training, I
Yeah.
think that it should pretty much be a part of every single person's workout routine because it's very, very important to make sure that your body is durable and that you are strong.
Yeah, absolutely. And I totally agree with you. And one thing you kind of hit on is like the natural ability that people can get to without performance enhancing drugs. I mean, just a couple of weeks ago, the Liver King was exposed, and because you looked at him, you're like, "There's no way that he's natural." And he would talk about how he is. Sure enough, he's not. But we're not going to go down that rabbit hole. And so, like with let's just use yourself for an example. Is I'll have you in the thumbnail or somewhere that people can see your current physique. Like where with who you know in the industry of bodybuilding and putting on these massive muscles, how close do you feel that you are to that line
Hmm.
of like what your body can naturally do before it's like, I mean, I don't even know what your long-term goals are for your physique. Obviously, it's dialed in, so it's something you're concerned about. Like, how close are you to that natural
That
line?
is a very good question. And honestly, how I answer that is it's really, really hard to perform a study on people who have been exercising for a very, very, very long period of time, who are staying very, very consistent and trying to progressively overload their training, like trying to bump up the intensity, trying to work hard, trying to build more muscle. Because so many people, they get stuck doing the same thing and then they get into this phase where they're just kind of maintaining what they've already built. They're no longer progressing. So it's really, really hard to find like a study where you take somebody like me who's been working out for like a long period of time, but who is still like training extremely hard, still has his diet in check, like all those types of things. And it's kind of unknown how much progress, like, or how much potential you actually have. And I think that the placebo effect is also very real because I think a lot of people, when it comes to muscle building, especially people that have been doing it for a long time, they kind of put their own boundaries on themselves. Like they say, you know what, I'm pretty close to my natural potential. I don't think that I can get much bigger. I think that in it, like thinking that way in and of itself will have an effect on your body and like make you grow less. Like as
Yeah.
funny as that sounds. So I personally tend to like the idea that I am pretty far away from my natural genetic limit, and that like I
Yep.
still have another 10 to 20 pounds that I could put on, because ultimately that's my goal. is to compete at like nationals in the NPC, which is not drug tested, and I want to do that naturally. And so
Yeah.
ultimately, like my goal, like it may be 10 years down the line, but like I know that I'm gonna be working towards it, and we're gonna see how far we can take it. Pretty much, that's the
Yeah,
goal
buddy.
right now.
I want you to shift what you said there, and I want to do that to I'm gonna win that.
Yeah, exactly. I want to win nationals. I want to not only compete and be competitive. I want to get my pro card in
Yeah.
non-drug tested competition. So against other people who are on performance enhancing drugs. Like that is like as of right now, that's like my life goal. Like it's far off, but
Yeah.
that's my life goal. So
That's so cool, man. That's awesome. I love to hear it. Well, yeah, Brandon, thank you so much for coming on today. I really appreciate your time. I hope that whether it's somebody who's trying to grow on social media can be encouraged by the things that we talked about in the beginning, or even if it's a person who's like, you know what, I want to put on 10 pounds of muscle, or I want to lose that extra 15, 20 pounds, whatever it is that they have, that they can go and be better from what they shared with you. And so, or heard here, where can people find you if they want to go hear more of your content and the different things that you have to share?
yeah, so my TikTok is Brandon Clark Coaching. On my Instagram, I'm Brandon_C_Clark. On YouTube, I'm just Brandon Clark. That's how you can pretty much find me. And I have my own website. It's called BrandonClarkFitness.com. So if you want to head over there, I have applications for online training. That's where I sell all my pricing programs for my coaching, all that type of stuff, as well as my workout programs. So I sell like lean bulking programs, cutting programs, basic cookie cutter stuff that can help people get started and hopefully provide a lot of value.
Okay, sounds great. And you have probably different price points of, whether it's coaching in person versus getting an ebook with some things
Correct,
you
I
put
do. So
together.
all those
Right.
ebooks are
Okay.
available to buy and download on my website. And the coaching, you contact me personally, and I will get you started.
Okay. Great. Well, yeah, Brandon, thank you again so much for making the time to come and have a conversation here. Can't wait to see where you take your bodybuilding career, how many people you're able to help get in shape and achieve their goals. And yeah, ultimately where you take your physique as a natural. It's something I'm excited to watch your journey on.
Thanks so much for having me on, man. I really appreciate it.